Hello, good morning. Rebecca here. Sorry, I just got distracted by a bin chicken, and Ivis. So anyway, this topic, making promises to yourself. Okay, we all make promises, and we try not to make promises that we can't keep. How can you go wrong with making promises to yourself? Well, are your expectations of what you can do just not realistic, and have you broken it down into sizable chunks? The promises you're making, are they actually relying on something that you do and you have control of, or are you just waiting for somebody to do something? I think in a lot of instances that I've seen, a lot of people, when they make promises to themselves, a lot of it can also hinge on external factors, a lot of which you can't control, a lot of which you probably shouldn't control because it will just drive you nuts. So when people make promises to themselves that involved, I'd say, the effort of somebody else or external factors that you have no idea what they're on about, then I think you're setting yourself up for failure. And when you break down the promises, like even if you want to write them out and say, okay, this is what I want and I envisage, and you write it out and write down what you think or what might be involved in meeting that promise, have a look at a lot of the things and see if it's stuff that you can actually do yourself, or at least 90% yourself. And a 90% yourself is not all the small things, and the 90% yourself will be some of the big things, like from working with bureaucracy and in the workplace in general. You know how there's a workflow, and your workflow is, if you're the meat in the middle basically, and you need to rely on someone basically doing something or something happening before you can actually do something, and that's 90% of what you promised yourself, then, or a great deal of what you promised yourself, then you're going to be spending a lot of your time waiting for someone or something to happen, Whereas if you switch it around and go, okay, the promise I'm making myself, pretty much all of it I can do myself. There's a few little things that are relying on somebody else, some external factors, but those things will come if I do these other things to make, keep that promise to myself. And if not, then they're not like ancillary things, they're just like bonuses that can happen. Like actually meeting that goal, keeping that promise to yourself, is not something that's wholly or mostly reliant on someone else or another external factor. Those are just my thoughts on some people continually not meeting goals or keeping promises to themselves. Is that one, it could not be realistic because life happens. I've broken a lot of promises to myself and I went, you know what, life happens. And two, that a lot of the things that are contingent on that goal or that promise being kept is reliant on things that you can't control or external factors, stuff like that. Another thing is, I guess, it's another third one. I feel like I'm in the Spanish Inquisition. That people can just get lazy because it's easy. It's easier to not do something than it's also easy to do something. But at that point in time, it's easier for you to not do something at that point in time. But also think of it this way: it might not be easy. It might be easy to do, but it's easier to not do it. But then if you do it, it'll be easier next time to do it. It should be easier, a little easier than not doing it. And if you keep going on that way, eventually it'll be easier to do it. Work that out. You got one up on me this morning, and it is freezing. The temperature said it was like 9 degrees. I think they're lying. But anyway, keeping promises to yourself. Like making goals. Write it down, see what you're doing, see if a lot of your goals is reliant on somebody, you know. If not, cool. Is it something that you know that is definitely within your grasp? Not like, oh, 50 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when I was a young sprocket, or when, you know, this happened, I could do X, Y, Z. Look at what you've got now. Look at what you've got to work with. Look at forward, look at backwards, you know, and keep it real. Doesn't mean that I say don't strive for something that is difficult. It doesn't mean that I say that, you know, you push yourself. You know, realize that you can push yourself, but also realize your current limitations, your future limitations, that's in the future. Your current limitations, what you want to do to overcome those current limitations in order to keep that promise to yourself, to reach that goal, to really get there. You're keeping it real, and touch base with your mates, because your mates also know when you're stressed out, and listen to them. Sometimes they do get overprotective of you, and you've got to love them for that. But they're also good to give you another point of view, to say, hey, am I checking base with myself? Is this goal, is this promise realistic? And what do I need to do to keep it there and make it happen? Because when you succeed in a goal, even a small one, like every day I'm going to get up and make my bed, then it really does wonders for you, because that's a good motivational thing. Anyway, oh God, I'm burping. I haven't even eaten this morning. It must be the corset. I'm going to go. It's cold. My fingers are freezing, my little paws, and I'm going to take in this nice clear day with that sunrise right there, South Bank, the beach, awesome workers going about their day. They are awesome. Imagine them getting up at this weather to make a world a beautiful place. Okay, anyway, keeping promises to yourself. Have a look at what you're doing, how you can improve, keeping it real, and make sure that a lot of the promises, even though they can rely on a lot of things externally, the promises that you want to make to yourself, you want to be able to keep for yourself. So make sure that you have that in your control as well. Things that you can influence, things that you're able to do. Okay? Love you guys. See ya.